Next up at UFC Vegas 81, we have essentially an immediate rematch between Edgar Chairez and Daniel Lacerda. These two guys just fought a couple of weeks ago, and it ended with the referee stopping the fight. He thought Daniel was unconscious. He wasn't. They called it a bad stoppage. I'll argue about that a little more in a minute. But Edgar Chairez 10-5 overall, 2-2-1 in his last 5, obviously coming off that no contest. Daniel Lacerda 11-5 overall, 0-4-1 in his last 5, coming off that no contest as well. Edgar Chairez is a solid fighter, right? He made a short notice.
Hold on. It's just funny because they started spamming.
I see it.
But it's funny that his name is Edgar.
Edgar Chairez. Oh, that's why they're doing the egg? I thought it was because I was shaped like an egg.
It's not because they're doing it. It's just the funny that you keep saying Edgar. You know, it's kind of the same thing. So
Edgar.
I know, but it's kind of, it sounds the same. You get it, Angelo? Let's try and follow along, Egolo.
See, that's why I didn't want to acknowledge it. And now here we are. Anyway, Edgar Chairez is a solid fighter. He made his short notice debut at UFC, whatever the hell that was, a couple of months ago against Tatsuro Taira, plus 600 underdog. He did have a couple of moments of success, but he also showed us that he's willing to pull guillotine and like jump guard and do some crazy stuff like that. But the reality is he is solid. He's a tough guy. He's going to come forward. He can piece you apart. He's going to hang tough, that Mexican tough, piece you apart, work in a single or two, work in some submission attempts, and then go from there. As I mentioned, he's coming off that no contest with Daniel Lacerda. I'll talk about that very, very quickly. Frankly, I don't think that was a bad referee call. The referee checked his arm a few times, and Daniel's arm, it stayed up. And then he checked it again a minute later, limp as hell. His arm is limp as hell.
He didn't check it. It just went limp.
It went limp. Fine. He didn't. The arm went limp. So I'm not saying it was the greatest call in the world. I just don't think railroading that referee makes as much sense as people think. If you watch that fight and you watch that exchange, it's like, yeah, the dude was in this choke. His arm was limp as hell. And the angle that referee's at, it is what it is. This guy is there to protect the fighters. Daniel Lacerda's limp. Limp. Why was he limp? Oh, well, technically, this choke, what you don't want, get the fuck, why was he limp?
Sometimes when you're overweight,
it's ridiculous.
It causes issues.
Never had that issue. Taking on Daniel Lacerda, probably somebody said it in the comments, it's not wrong. One of the best 0-4 fighters that you're going to see. This guy is a dangerous striker, dangerous grappler, very, very aggressive on his feet. He's willing to die out there. That's why 11-5, 11 wins by stoppage, all 5 losses by stoppage. He will go out there. He will chase what he needs to chase to try to get that win. And frankly, when they fought the first time, he took Edgar down. He beat Edgar up a little bit. Edgar had that scramble. I actually had to call Jacob, be like, wait, how did that fight go again? And then I had to rewatch the fight because in my mind, it was like, oh, well, Edgar was going to submit him no matter what anyway. And then I rewatch it after talking to Jacob. It's like, was he though? Like, let's say that was completely bullshit. The limp, all that was bullshit. Was he? Because Daniel Lacerda got a takedown when he wanted to. He is dangerous. I do still think Edgar Chairez is going to win this fight. The odds, he closed at minus 220-ish last time. He's minus 270 now, so they didn't necessarily take off. I still think Edgar's going to win, but I think it's a little more questionable now than it was before because we saw part of this fight, and Daniel took him down somewhat easily and could potentially do it again. So Edgar Chairez is going to be the pick as he was last time, but it's I don't think railroading that referee is necessarily correct. What do you think, Jakey boy?
Yeah, I will say that I cannot believe after that fight that the odds got wider. I really thought that they would get closer. I was like, oh man, we're not even going to get Lacerda at dog odds anymore when I left that fight because the biggest question mark, there was no doubt about the talent level of Daniel Lacerda, as you talked about. Probably one of the best 0-4 fighters in the UFC. The guy's talent is unreal. What he kept doing was he would either blow his load, do something stupid. He went too hard, too fast. As you said, willing to die in there in every first round and got himself in trouble. Even when he was having success, then he would gas and then he would run into trouble. He was willing to die in there, just like we saw Grant Dawson was, which is absolutely, he said before the fight, I'm willing to die in there. Gets hit with a jab and fucking just curls up in a fucking ball at fucking pussy. But the biggest question mark for Daniel Lacerda is, can he calm down? Can he come into a fight and be the same talent level, but pace himself? And what did he do in that Edgar fight? He was pacing himself. He was doing exactly what we wanted him to do. He was looking good, taking his time, had a nicely timed takedown. And with that takedown, you saw, oh, he's going to be able to take down Edgar whenever he wants, because Edgar is a guy that will fight off his back. He will chase those submissions. He will look for those guillotines. And Lacerda is the guy that knows how to stay safe on the ground. Yeah, he got caught up in this little bit of a guillotine situation, but that was a little bit of a Hail Mary thing. I don't know if that's going to happen again. Yeah, it happened in that one. People call it early start, whatever it is, but I don't know if that's going to happen again. The thing that worries me the most is a couple things. Number one, Edgar was kind of fucking up his leg a little bit. I mean, he was landing some nice heavy leg kicks. They were kind of trading leg kicks, but you could see that Edgar's were a little bit heavier. So that does worry me, because if Daniel is going to take his time, he's got to have a game plan to check those leg kicks. Otherwise, he's going to run into some issues, because once you lose your leg, you're kind of fucked. So that's what worries me. The other thing is, maybe he comes in a little bit pissed off, right? Because he thinks it's an early stoppage. I should have been winning that for whatever he thinks. And he comes in a little bit too hot, a little bit too heavy, and he turns in to the old Lacerda because it's a rematch, because he's a little bit fired up. He's already fought this guy before, and he comes in and he turns. That's my biggest worry in this fight. I'm picking the Daniel Lacerda in this matchup. I picked him last time. I'm picking him again because I think he can get the takedowns whenever he wants. He is the better fighter in my mind. Edgar's a tough dude, but I'm worried that he's going to come in and turn into the Lacerda of old, get emotional because it's a rematch, and he is going to blow his load again, because if it comes down to a war and durability, I would take Edgar. I would take Edgar in that matchup. So I think Lacerda's the better fighter, can get the takedowns when he wants. He is my pick, but I do worry. I'm surprised about the odds.
I was surprised. That's why I called you, but I was surprised the opposite direction. I'm like, wait, wasn't it like obvious he was going to win this fight? Why is he not minus 400? You're like, no. So then I went back and I watched it. I'm like, okay, I can see. I think there are still a lot of people in the comment section that saying, "Oh, I'm more confident now than I was," and all that. Because the problem is Lacerda has not shown us that we know Edgar Chairez is tough. He is tough. He's not a guy you just finish quickly. He's just not. And we know Lacerda doesn't have more than a minute and a half of gas. So it's those gas tank issues are when he is trying to chase a finish. It's when he is like Yeah, so like
it's not
CJ Vergara. He almost killed that guy.
Right. So it's like, I'll never blame somebody. Obviously, it's not all the way. I mean, there is probably some gas tank issues as well, but I will never blame somebody for getting tired when they're trying to chase a finish, when they're trying to be aggressive, because that's what you want a fighter to do. Obviously, there's smart ways to do that, but if somebody's just going to get tired, because like the CJ fight's like, of course he got tired. He's fucking sprinting around trying to chase this guy down,
Literally chasing him down. But this should be, it should be a fun fight. I do think Chairez is going to win. I think he was going to win the first time. I think he's going to win this time. A lot of it because he has got that Mexican fighting spirit. This guy is tough. He's not somebody you're just going to get out of there super quick. I think he can weather the storm. You think there might not be a storm coming. I think there probably will be, and I think he'll weather it, and then he'll, do what he does, as long as he's not pulling guard and doing any of this other stupid shit that we have seen him do in the past. He does have low-ish fight IQ. He chases, and that could absolutely be a problem for him.
And I think
I'm going to avoid it.
Yeah, and this I think it's a catch weight 130. I think that's going to help both guys, honestly.
Well, Chairez is, how tall is this dude? 5'7". He looks a lot taller than that. That can't be.
I think it's going to help both guys. I mean, I think they both cut a lot of weight to 125, so I think it's going to help both guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, but $9,200 in DraftKings, again, it's tricky because if Daniel Lacerda loses, he gets finished. That's just how this guy loses, and all of a sudden, Edgar Chairez may be worth that money. And obviously, any of your large tournament lineups, you're chasing that big payout, those big GPPs, multi-entry type stuff, you're going to need some exposure to Daniel Lacerda. A little bit. You're going to need some exposure to Daniel here. He's $7,000, and his wins are all by finish. So we'll see what happens. WeWantPicks.com. Click become a member. It is only $10 a month, and it will help Jacob get better internet. His internet bailed on us yet again. We'll give him a second to come back. let me know right now in the comments if you agree with that referee statement. I saw a few of you did support that, but the reality is the referee is there only for the safety of the fighters. The safety includes enforcing the rules and includes making sure somebody doesn't die. And when you see a fighter's arm go 100% limp, I feel like you just got to jump in there and do what you got to do. I saw a couple of people agree, and then some guy wrote an 11-page paragraph on one of the comments talking about, well, it was this choke. I don't want to hear the jiu-jitsu nerd version. Don't give me the referee.
Well, I mean, the fact that DC and
they
Dominic
both
Cruz
were like, oh, I knew it. Yeah.
They were like, it's not a. It went limp, so just grab it again and see if he's good. That's all you got to do.
I get
it. Went limp, but then he stopped it. Just grab it again.
I think I reffed wrestling for a while. I think I have more appreciation for referees than judges. Judges, and we've talked about this before, they have time to think about what they're going to write down on that paper. Where referees have to react instantly, and sometimes it's just the wrong thing.
He's a fucking idiot. He's always
sometimes
an idiot.
It's just the wrong thing.
Dude, he's always an idiot. When it comes to giving somebody the benefit of the doubt.
Was he the one who screwed up the Ronnie Lawrence one? That wasn't him, right?
No, that was Keith. But he's the one that with headbutts and the point deductions, and I mean he's fucked locking the week over. So I'm a little bit biased, but I mean he is like Mr. fucking. There's no benefit of the doubt when it comes to fucking Chris Taglioni. And the fact that right afterwards, too, they changed the ruling, but right afterwards, Daniel Sanders looking at him like, dude, I'm good. And Chris Taglioni on his high horse like, no.
Yeah.
Fucking idiot.
I am surprised they flipped that.
Chris Taglioni.
That was your got him?
That was like the Chris Christie. We're going to call him Donald Duck.
He was so pumped,
dude. Like like he's the first person to ever think of that. Like, what the fuck?
He was so pumped for that. It was the prepared one-liners in debates are always
a little
great.
smirk, yeah.
Yeah.